Back, yes, this morning we'll be discussing relationship, and I think our guest is ready. Good morning to you, ma'am. Good morning, Omolayo. Hello. Okay, while we are waiting for our guests to join us, the reason why we had to talk about relationship this morning is because we've seen a lot of relationship go sour. Yes, brothers, sisters, colleagues, friends, and they've been this betrayal for over years. I met someone that said a friend of his that he has known, I think, for close to 22 years, betrayed him by impregnating the sister. Now, for him, he felt like even if you want to marry my sister, come through the normal door. Don't pass backyard. So for that relationship, it's in fact it's at the edge. If not because he made the same mistake because he now has I think he's a boy here, so he now has a nephew that he would have broken ties with that guy completely. I said, well, he didn't betray you. Maybe they were just scared of coming to tell you that they are in love so that you not say, you want to. But then a lot of relationships have fallen apart. And this morning, I want to know what healthy relationship is all about. What is it to build that healthy relationship? What is it to talk about relationship? Oh, I'm in a relationship with somebody. What does it mean? What is the starting point? What are the first things you do before you even tell somebody, I love you? Before you even tell somebody, okay, let's take it to the next level. What are those things? What are the signs of a healthy relationship? That is what we want to talk about today in the conversation. And I'm hoping that our guest will join us because we really need to hear from her. She's a relationship expert who has groomed a lot of relationships to grow and stand by. Yes, a lot of it. You know, when you're coming in the space of a relationship expert, you hear a lot. So sometimes you hear and you say, did it just happen? Or is it happening right in your presence, you know? So that's what we'll be discussing about relationship. Generally, everything that has to do with relationship. Please, do we have our guests ready? Can we have Omolayo on our screen this morning? Hello. Okay, very good morning
Hi,
to
good morning.
you.
Good
Good to see
morning.
you
I
this
can hear
morning.
and see you clearly. I hope you can hear
I
and
want
see me
to
as well.
ask, what does a healthy relationship actually look like? What should we presume in our heads? What should we look out for when we are saying, oh, I want to have a healthy relationship? What does a healthy relationship actually look like or should look like? Let me use that word.
Okay. Thank you for having me this morning. So, if we're talking about relationships generally, honestly, there are basic rules. There are basic attributes of a good relationship, whether it's between a husband and a wife, a boyfriend and girlfriend, parents and children, friends, colleagues, bosses. We are all relational beings, right? All of us have everything it takes to be able to cohabit with other human beings. That's how God made everyone. No one is made to live in isolation. A research has shown that when somebody lives in isolation for so long, alone, without any interface with anyone, they begin to lose their minds. So we are made to be relational beings, and there is a way to relate with people. Healthy relationships are supposed to make the other person feel loved. That is at the center of any relationship. Like I said, whether it's family, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, at the center of every relationship, love must be established. Do you feel loved in that relationship? Do you feel accepted? Do you feel seen? These are attributes of good relationships. Toxic relationships, on the other hand, there is always a power play such that one person wants to have their way, one person wants to subdue the other. I'm sure that the word that goes around right now that is trending in therapy is narcissism. Many people use this word incorrectly, actually, but there's a rise in how people view other people such that they can label them as narcissists. Why? Because it's now obvious that when somebody wants to subdue you, silence you and have their way without recourse to you, they may have narcissistic tendencies, right? So when you're in a healthy relationship, you feel safe, you feel at peace. You're not afraid to express your mind. You're not afraid to express your opinion. You're not afraid to be yourself. Those are attributes of healthy relationships. You're not afraid to express yourself. You're not afraid to listen. You hear the other person out. You see people as humans and treat them as such. You respect them. I mean, there's so many things, but at the center of it, of a healthy relationship, is love, is genuine love. Of course, we have also defined what love is, right? But at the center of it is love, is genuine love. And you know, with the love, you can do anything for the other person. You make the other person still feel safe and accepted and valued. Thank you.
Love how you're talking about genuine love. And I want to ask now, should love come before stability, or it should be stability before love? While I'm asking this, because I notice that lots of people love and they are not stable in their mind. Which should come first? Should I prepare myself to be stable at heart, to be peaceful at heart before loving somebody? Or I should love somebody, then in the course of that love, and okay, stability will come in, peace of mind will come in. Which should we place first when we are talking about relationship?
Okay, so I guess that what you're talking about when you mean stability, you're meaning mental and emotional stability, correct? You're meaning that the person has is in a place of emotional connection and maturity. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to be sure that I got that correctly. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general stability emotionally, physically, financially, everything, the state of the mind. Should it be stable before I find love, or I should just allow love come into play before we talk about emotional stability, the peace of mind, and all that comes with it?
Okay. So you know that nobody actually plans to fall in love. You just fall in love, if you know what I'm talking about. And this is talking about romantic relationship, right? You just realize that you're liking this person. You just realize that, come on, this person is this person is entering my eyes, if you know what I mean. So you almost cannot choose when love finds you. That's where I'm going. You can't, so you can't say, oh, I want to wait till at the time you are waiting for stability, quote and unquote, love can find you. So what do you do? And that's why it's critical that everybody at no matter what state you are, no matter your status and everything, you are self-developing. You're constantly working on yourself. You're constantly, adding to yourself. You're constantly becoming more valuable, not only to yourself but to the world. You are constantly improving. There is never a perfectly stable place to be before you fall in love. Trust me, because you always need to keep working at it. You always see there are some times that you feel like, oh, okay, right now I'm where I ought to be. I can do this, I can do that, and then so okay, let me fall in love. And then you fall in love, and then you start to engage in romantic relationship, and you realize that, come on, the stability I thought I built, I never really built anything, or it's crumbling. Let me give you an instance. I got married in 2012. At the time I got married, my husband was a banker. He was comfortable, right? And so when I joined him, we were really doing well, right? 6 months into being married, 6 months into being married, he lost his job. I had left my job where I was to join him where he is, right? So it means that I wasn't working because he was waiting. I was 6 months pregnant. Now, so what would you say there? Would you say he wasn't stable? He was stable. So I'm saying that we never know when we find love. We never know when that begins. So I also understand that you need to plan. I'm not saying you shouldn't plan. I'm just saying don't put your romantic life on hold because you are not rich enough, or because, no, keep working at being rich. There is a level, of course, that that you get to be able to start a family. We are not underrating that. There is a level of financial stability that helps you start family on a good note. So yes, keep working at that. But what I am saying is, don't put your romantic life on hold. Yes, because, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that. However, this is the caveat. Because I'm a trauma coach, I am always wanting people to go for emotional, psychological evaluation, right? Before getting married, not before you fall in love. Don't get me wrong. Before getting married, before you know, tying the knots, you need to know your spouse's or your would-be spouse emotional state, right? And knowing the emotional state helps you know what you're going to be working on in your courtship and then in your marriage. Okay, so and where does it start from? It starts from childhood. Every adult that are troubled today, who are troubled mentally or emotionally, didn't start today. Didn't start because they lost their job. Didn't start because they lost a parent. Didn't start because something. It started from childhood. Your emotional stability as an adult. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Go on, I'm hearing you loud here. I'm hearing you, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, the emotional stability of an adult begins from childhood. So many people troubled right now, right? Especially the younger generation who are hooked on drugs, who are hooked on substance abuse. It didn't start because they met a bad influence. Trust me. Anyone who can be influenced with drugs, with substance, is not because it's sweet or because it's interesting. They are using that substance to escape something, some psychological or emotional pain that they can express. So to lift them off that substance, we need to solve where the problem began from. So you don't just date random people. You want to also be sure that this person is actively working on their emotions, actively working. This person has made peace with their childhood. That's where I start from with my clients. We need to dig to. I don't care what you bring to me as a client. We need to dig into your childhood and be sure that you were not messed up as a child. That's where your healing has to begin from. So what I'm saying is, you can find love anytime, but regardless of where you find love, keep working at stability in every area of your life. Yeah.
Ask this question between communication and trust. Very important, between communication and trust. Which is more important? What should we look out for? Now we are dealing with relationship generally, between communication and trusting someone. What should come important? What should be of importance to us as an individual?
They are both important. You can't have one without the other. It's a conjoint twin. Trust me. Communication and trust, they come hand in hand. For every relationship, none can be missing. None can be placed above the other. You have to have a healthy relationship. You both need to be able to talk to each other. You both need to be able to express your grievances, including between father and children and parents and children. Right? To build children, to raise children who are confident, to raise children who can say no, to raise children who will not become people pleasers. Parents must be able to listen to their children. They must be able to allow their children express themselves. Of course, you're going to teach them how. You're going to teach them how to express yourself politely. You're going to teach them how to express yourself, without being abusive, without being all of that. But let your children be able to speak. So any form of relationship, communication is key. And trust me, I can't communicate with you if I don't trust that you're going to be able to receive what I'm saying. You see that they come hand in hand. I'm sure that some of you can relate to the fact that there are some people you walk away from. You don't even bother engaging in a particular conversation with them because you don't trust that they'll be able to handle it. You don't trust that they'll be able to give the right response, right? Yeah, so trust and communication, it's hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. All right. So if you ask me which is most important, I'd say they are both important. Trust is key, communication is key in a healthy relationship.
Are both important. You know the routine here. Let's go on a word of marble. Please just give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. But we are still discussing relationship as a whole, and our guest, who is also a trauma coach, has taught us a lot when it comes to relationship. But thank you so much for still hanging in there. Now, I want to ask this question. You know, you did mention something about parents listening to their kids, and you know, you're trying to touch on family. Let's talk about it holistically. What is the role of family in building a child's relationship all the way into marriage? What role does family play? What is the key role of family? Because I've had people say, oh, I didn't have a good relationship with my parents, but that never stopped them from having good relationships with their partners, or it didn't stop them from having good relationships with their colleagues. But they say, oh, with parents, we didn't have a good relationship, we didn't grow up, or we didn't know. There was not just that relationship at all. But what is the role of family in molding an individual's relationship?
Thank you so much. You know, in emotional intelligence, there's something we call emotional conditioning. Emotional conditioning happens when a child observes his or her emotional atmosphere, and because of that, they automatically, without anyone doing anything extra, automatically begins to respond in the exact with the exact same emotional responses that they saw. What does that mean? It means that when your parents are always bickering at each other, they are always yelling, or your mom is always yelling at you, your dad always beats you when you do something. It's an emotional conditioning that goes on in that instance. So when that child grows up, the likelihood that that child would also respond with emotions, would respond with yelling, would respond with beating, will respond with all of those things is very high. And you know, especially children who say, I don't ever want to be like my father. I saw my father beat my mom. I saw my father mistreat my mom. I'm never going to be a father like that. But they grew up doing the exact same thing that their father did to their mom. It wasn't like they were not determined. It wasn't like they wanted to be like their father. It was emotional conditioning. And because of the emotional conditioning, right, they act it out by default. Right. So emotional conditioning goes in whatever relationship, however children see relationship being molded while they are growing up. That's how they are most likely going to have their relationships in the future. And I'm excited that people who now have to do extra work to uncondition their emotional conditioning, if that makes sense to you. Those people who say, oh, I didn't have a good relationship with my family, but now they have good marriages, that ask them, they'll tell you the amount of work, the tremendous work they have to do to get to that point. It's usually a struggle. So what I usually tell parents, right, is that you're not just raising children, you're raising an adult. You're raising somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's governor, you're raising somebody's teacher or lecturer. Your input now in their lives is not just for now, it's for the future. So if you and your husband want to have issues, you're upset at each other, it's okay. Get it out of the faces of your children. It doesn't mean you should present like a perfect marriage to your children. No, your children should also know how that people resolve matters between each other. Yes, you should teach them that. But you won't do that with shouting and yelling and everything. Right? The way you also, I always say this, my parents didn't have so many friends while we were growing up. But till tomorrow, I know my dad's closest friend, I know my mom's closest friend, till tomorrow. These people are still around, that's what I'm saying. They still visit, they still come for a family function. And that's what we learned growing up. So if you ask me, I'm 40 now, I still do besties. Some people laugh at me and say, oh, some people say, oh, I don't do besties. I don't have a best friend. I have best friends. And I'll continue to have, because I've seen how that worked out for my parents. It was what we observed, right? And I could say that for my siblings. Recently, we started joking about it. My brother's friend is still his best friend as a child. He's still his best friend till now. My younger sister, my elder sister, that's what we saw. That is more, because they modeled great relationships for us. So if you want your children to be good friends, you be good friends, even as their parents. Let them see. So while we were growing, my parents would take us to visit their friends will visit us. So now I do visits. To build my relationships, I visit my friends, they visit me. I don't shut my doors, I don't isolate. I show my children that, in fact, some of the things I do with my children is I follow them to visit their best friends. What am I doing? Modeling what good relationships should be. And trust me, when I see a friend around them who has toxic traits, I let them know. I say, you see, when your friend is insisting that you do this is toxicity. That's not the kind of friend you want to have. If I have a friend who's been toxic towards me, I let them know I'm not as close to this person anymore, because there were traces of that. Is building a child who is whole. Now I'm just going to briefly talk about age appropriate sexuality education. In age appropriate section, I have a book that I distribute to churches and schools for free that says a lot about this, right? In this book, right, we tell parents to tell their children about their body development. Most children are on holidays right now. This is a good time to talk to your children about growth, emotional growth, physical growth. Those children who are moving from childhood to adolescence, and those ones who are moving from adolescence to childhood. Those ones are moving from childhood to adolescence. They are in the 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. They are preteens. They are moving to adolescence. You have to prepare them for teenage. Let them know about attraction to opposite sex. Let them know about crush. Let them know about all of the changing, the voice change, the mustache, pimples, body odor. Teach them all that. Prepare them for what the life they're about to enter. When they enter it, hold their hands through it. Tell them it's not the right time to start having boyfriend and girlfriend. Let them know how distracting that is. But normalize the feeling of attraction between opposite sex, right? But we now have children who are moving from teen age to adulthood. They are 17ish, 18ish, going to 20. You want to prepare these ones for dating. What African parents don't ever get over is that the same thing they told us, right? To say, I must not see you with any boy. I must not. That is what you keep saying until this child is old enough to date. They will not get to the dating stage. They'll be clueless as to what to do, because all their lives they've heard, I don't want to see you with a boy. I don't want to see you with a girl. No, you must know when it is that you need to teach them. See, you are growing up. You are going to the university. See, let me tell you, parents, if you're listening, right? Your children who are going to the university in September, you better begin to prepare them. University is a no man's land. You can't be there to say, don't have boyfriend. They are not there. So prepare them. This is likely to happen. This is how you know when a guy is in love with you. This is how to know a girl who is in love with you. This is how to know if you guys are supposed to date. You need to family. That's where we teach it. The problem that many of our generation had is that we didn't talk about these critical issues in the family, and so we learned from wrong people. Many people. I was very, blessed. My parents taught us. In fact, my dad would sit us down and ask me about my closest male friends. What is between you two? He wasn't doing it with anger. He would be smiling. I see that this guy is always coming around. What does he want? I was in secondary, so I was in SS2. And I'll tell you that there's nothing between us. So it was easy to talk to him about anybody asking me out. So it helped me in making a good decision about who I eventually dated and eventually married. So family is the place where the children learn about every form of relationship, friendship, relationship with colleagues, relationship with spiritual parenthood, relationship with friends, husband, wife. The family is critical. But the family is messed up, it's really difficult to be able to hand over great relationship advice to children.
The sports. Can someone love two people at the same time? Can somebody
Absolutely.
when we talk about love is a very beautiful thing. Or last week we talked about the
Yeah.
power of love and sacrifice, whether as a parent, whether as a colleague or whatever. But is it possible, coming from the fact that you know so much about emotional intelligence, you're a trauma coach and all of that, you've dealt with people, is it possible for somebody to genuinely love two people at the same time, whether romantically or just having, you talked about besties, we have besties, and sometimes they say, you cannot have two besties at the same time, it's not possible to love two besties. Now, is it possible for an individual to love two people at the same time?
Yes, it's my personal opinion that it's possible, very possible. It's possible for me to love all my besties the same way. The only thing is that when it comes to certain aspect of my life, I may prefer one bestie to another, and that's based off of their own personality as well. So for me, like I said, I have besties, not even one, right? I know that bestie to call when I urgently need somebody to pray for me because I can't pray, right? Then I know that bestie to call if I just want to laugh. I want to just, if you get what my drift, right? But they are all my besties. If, for instance, I have like an intimate event, I'm going to have them all together. I love them. I want them to be around me, right? And so I can't, and this is me. It's not possible for me to call you my bestie if there is no emotional connection. I won't do that. I won't call you my bestie. I will call you someone I know, my acquaintance, or maybe a friend or something. A friend is different from a best friend. I hope you know that. So, but it is possible for you to love people, more people, to love more than one person at the same time. And trust me, it's possible for a parent to love all their children the same way. Trust me, this is a lot going on out there. Some children already feel that, my parents prefer this, my parents love this person. No, it should never happen. Yes, it is true that some children are more well behaved than the other, but you don't want to lose any of them, right? Yeah, that's because you love them. More children are more well behaved. They don't stress you as much as the others, right? But that's your children. If anything happens, you are going to be running out for all of them. You won't say, this one is not well behaved. If one goes into prison, you are going to be looking for every way to bail them out, correct? Yeah, so it's possible for you to love all your children the same way. Of course, the temptation is there to want to love one more than the other because maybe one does better, maybe one looks like you. I mean, there are very funny reasons. Maybe one looks like your late mother, and because of that, you have just only one girl and you have 7 boys. That girl you have to work so hard to make sure that no, that doesn't happen. You share the love equally. Nobody feels more important than the other person. Now, romantically, trust me, it's possible to be in love, to be in love with more than one person. Right. I mean, it's funny. I was watching a movie last night. This girl and this lady, they go way back. In fact, they started dating. This guy had proposed marriage to her. She was about to say yes when she had to travel, and relationship happened. By the time she came back, because she traveled, something happened on her trip. She didn't come back until maybe 5.5 years after. The guy had moved on. I started dating. In fact, got him married to somebody else. So it was tough. The girl felt betrayed and everything, felt bad and everything. But before you knew it, they just kept coming back together, right? Now this girl now said, no, I can't do this. You are already married. Let me leave you. So fell in love with another guy, got married. So both of them got married to different people. Does that make sense to you? Guess what? They still both loved each other. And trust me, I'm sure that both of them are in love with the people they got married to. But the beautiful thing is this girl was able to tell her own husband and say, you know what, I won't lie to you. This guy, who was my fiancé, who we had dated long enough for him to propose marriage to me, I still love him. But I chose you. Right? So it's possible for you to be in love with two people. The real question is, you have to choose one. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in polygamy. So yes, you have to choose one. And when you choose one, you now have to keep working on that feeling you have for the other person to not suppress it, because when you suppress something, it always comes back, right? To process it. It takes time. And that's why I also believe that when you've endured a heartbreak, somebody broke your heart, and you still love them, don't jump right into another relationship, because your feelings are still like divided. You need to process the hurt, process the love, to give your heart the opportunity to love again. Okay, so what do you do when you're in love with two different people? For instance, I tell young people, when I have the opportunity to talk to teenagers, to say, when you're crossing to puberty, right, during adolescence, because there are so many hormones, running in your body, it's possible for you to have a crush on five different people at the same time. It happened to me as a teenager. Like, I could count in church, I had a crush and when I say I have a crush, it's not the same thing as having a boyfriend, right? Because when people say here, oh, I have a crush, they assume that you have a boyfriend. No, having a crush is simply that you have a feeling for someone, for somebody. Let me clarify that. So I said I had a feeling for somebody in church, I had a feeling for somebody in my secondary school, I had a feeling for somebody in my neighborhood. I'm like, what's going on with me? And I realized that, no, that's just adolescence, that's just puberty. But one thing I did that I'm very grateful for was that I was surrounded with people who were enlightened. So I could talk to my teens church teachers, I could talk to my parents, and they let me see, you know what, that feeling you had is called crush. You have is called crush. Crush never lasts. It fizzles out. So because of that, I didn't date any one of them, because I believe that all of these people that I think that I like, it will still disappear, right? So it's the same way when you are now an adult, you could tell that I really love this person, even though I'm married. And that's to say that you can be married to somebody and still be liking somebody outside of your marriage. It happens. And it doesn't mean that you have gotten into adultery. What how you have gotten into adultery, right, would be that you have now started connecting with this person. You have started having chats. You don't even have to ask them out. There's something called emotional attraction, and you are now making them your emotional pillow. You contact them, you start hiding chats, then adultery has started entering. But when you know that I like this person, maybe it's your secretary at work, maybe it's your colleague, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your subordinate, even though you're married, first of all, I need to know that that feeling is normal. It's normal to be attracted to the opposite sex anytime, any day, regardless of whether you have a ring or not. What you should do, please don't get me wrong, I'm not endorsing adultery. What you should do is to process that feeling, is to say, no, I'm not going to entertain this feeling. There's a way you can fuel a feeling, and there's a way you can make a feeling die. You can fuel a feeling by constant communication, by constantly being in the face of the person, by exchanging gifts, by sharing intimate matters with that person. That is where the trouble begins. But when you have a feeling that you didn't even share with anybody, this person does not even know that you like them, right? But you are processing and saying, no, I'm not going to share my feelings with somebody else because I'm legally married to someone else, right? That is how to handle it when you have feelings for two people at the same time. Look at it. Which one do I want to choose? And see, when you have feelings for more than one person, right, you will realize that there's one that stands out. The one that stands out, in my opinion, is what you should choose. All right. I hope I was able to answer that question.
This morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's good to see you. I'm hoping that one day you just come live to join us here in our studio. Let's have a live conversation with here in the studio. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning. And we are praying that God strengthens you in all you do. And it's a bright one for you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, we have been discussing relationship this morning, and we've heard it all from our guest. Omolayosha has said a whole lot. Yes, it's possible to actually love two people, just like she said. Know where to draw your boundaries. That's what she's telling you. And for parents, we are in the holiday season. Please try and teach your children what you should teach them, and let them get themselves ready. Just like she said, you're raising somebody's father, somebody's mother, a governor, a president somewhere. All right, tomorrow is Tuesday with a difference, and we will be discussing a very interesting topic, sharing room with siblings. Sharing room with siblings. That will be our conversation for tomorrow. Stay tuned with us, don't go anywhere. The next program on Galaxy continues. I am Princess Joy Ayo Abu. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.